Hi guys, it's Bridget with Miracle Canine Training. Today we're going to be talking about muzzle conditioning and the benefits of using a muzzle for your dog. So obviously not all dogs need a muzzle, but you have those ones that have specific anxieties toward strangers or being in close proximity with people they don't know, big crowds, and then you have dogs that need muzzled for safety reasons for other dogs. So muzzles can be utilized in a lot of different situations, and it's just to ensure that your dog is safe and you feel you're most comfortable when working your dog. When you're taking a variable out, like very high emotion where your dog might snap at people or other dogs, and muzzles just help kind of subside that one worry so you can confidently train your dog in all sorts of situations. So we use muzzles for dogs if we have dogs that may not react well to being around another dog, to kind of test out the water, see what we can see when the dog is first socializing here. And then we'll often either take the muzzle off and see what the dog does naturally with no barrier, or we will continue to keep the muzzle on and make it a session for the dog to get used to the muzzle in all sorts of situations. And dogs can usually take a couple sessions for them to get acquainted to the muzzle and the feeling of it being on them. So we use a Baskerville muzzle where a dog can eat, drink, and pant out of, and those are the kind of best muzzles to start your dog on so they feel nice and comfortable, your muzzle's nice and tight. A couple ways that you can utilize your muzzle if your dog has particular anxiety or fear going to the vet, and oftentimes vets either will restrain your dog or ask you to put a muzzle on it. And these are great scenarios where you could practice that muzzle time and your vet can feel safe while being able to safely handle your dog, thus taking the restraint out of vet care and making your dog just have a more comfortable experience at the vet. Some vets will choose to sedate dogs where it can be very costly to do sedation, and it's not necessarily good to pump your dog full of medicines or anesthesia that they don't need, rather than muzzle conditioning them so everybody involved can have a safe experience with your dog at the vet, and you can work your dog through these key points that cause them anxiety rather than put a band-aid on it and use medication. If they don't necessarily need it, we can utilize our muzzles to make the dog feel more comfortable and us to feel more comfortable with handling them. So 2 dogs we recently just graduated our program were Charlotte and Ronan, which were 2 litter mates from the same household that were getting into a little bit of fights, and when these fights were happening, they were seemingly unpredictable to the owners and very scary, and it just came to a point where the owners realized they needed professional help. We muzzled the dogs and had them both together training, getting those core obedience down while they were learning to work together and work around each other. Not to say that we didn't have them off muzzle to greet each other, but just in these early stages of training, getting these dogs on muzzle and having them learn how to work around each other while muzzled takes out the anxiety for owners and trainers of a possible fight, because we can't always predict our environment or the variables within our sessions. So if we can take out one big source of contempt, which is, let's say, fighting, we can feel more comfortable and confident, and the dogs can feel more comfortable and confident working through these key issues. And just because your dog is in a muzzle, or a dog may be in a muzzle, does not mean they're a bad or aggressive dog. A muzzle is just a training tool to help us gauge where the dog is at in responses to people or other dogs, and it does make us feel a little bit more peace of mind when we have our dogs out in public, so we're not so worried about a reaction. Rather, we can worry about or focus on fixing that reaction before it becomes dangerous, and we can get a handle on it so nobody gets hurt and the dog can still learn.